I'm just finishing up a really busy day on campus. I had a lot of really good conversations with students about the songs that they were working on. And I am so busy, I don't even have time to jot down notes of topics that would make great videos. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to bullet point some of the important conversations I had today with students. First one is, when you are writing a song that has a very specific context for whatever the dynamic is, of if it's a relationship song and there's a serious plot point that needs to be covered, I understand that you might want to avoid being too on the nose with your lyric, but if you don't say the thing that is directly stating the important plot point, you might miss. People might make assumptions because a lot of people just assume every song is a breakup song unless otherwise stated. If it's a sad song, don't be afraid to find that lyric that maybe isn't exactly right on the nose, but is adjacent to being right on the nose. If you got a song that has verse, pre-chorus, chorus, and you don't love your pre-chorus, check when the rhythmic phrasing of your pre-chorus starts. If your verse and your chorus are rhythmically lining up in the same part of the measure and when the phrases start, and your pre-chorus is also lining up in that same part, try shifting the rhythmic phrasing of your pre-chorus phrases to provide contrast. That is one thing that you can do to fix it. Also, if the chords are all happening at the same speed, like every 2 beats or every measure, in both the verse and the chorus, try changing that in your pre-chorus as well for contrast. You may find that you like your pre-chorus much better. If you are not proficient in an instrument, but you want to be writing songs, don't think that you have to learn an instrument before you can start writing your songs. Make use of all that technology offers and be gracious with yourself. Be gracious with the talent you have and work with what you have, work with what you can do right now. Don't wait until you learn to play piano to start writing songs. Use things in GarageBand that are like you just play one note, it gives you the full chord. Like right where you're at right now. If all you can do is just sing in your ideas, there's software that helps you convert vocal melodies into MIDI. Use technology to make up where you fall short. It's okay to write with chords that are kind of plain Jane and basic. But if you're going to do that, your top line needs to be interesting and strong. So interesting and strong that if you tried to use more colorful chords, it would actually take away from the beauty of your top line. That's how strong your top line needs to be. It needs to be so strong that it needs plain Jane chords to let that top line breathe and have space and have attention. If your top line isn't that strong, try adding some color chords that are enhancing without distracting. If you're writing a song that isn't the verse chorus or verse pre-chorus chorus structure, but it's like a verse refrain, and if every verse and every refrain have different lyrics, and if the lyrics are all super rapid fire lyrics, like they are coming at the listener fast, make sure you put breaks in between the sections. Unbalance it if you need to, which means it's not a multiple of 4 bars. Add like an extra 2 beats or an extra measure, an extra 2 measures at the end to give the listener a chance to catch their breath and let their brain reset before you start the rapid fire next section lyrics at them. If you're writing a refrain that comes around at the end of every chorus and it doesn't have any lyrics that repeat, consider adding another line at the end of it. It may unbalance the section, but consider adding the line at the end of the refrain that is the summary statement that really does just plain state your central concept. What is the moral of the story? What are you talking about? Add that at the end of your refrain so that at least that one line comes back every time and that the listener can know. And if you say it, you could say it one time. After the first refrain, you can say that line twice. After the second refrain, you can say it like 4 times in a row after the third refrain. And if you say it 4 times in a row after the third refrain, maybe 1 and 2 are the same line. And then 3 is a line that rhymes with 1 and 2. And then 4 is a different one. That's just one option. But just know that if your lyrics are rapid fire, the listener's going to need a minute to breathe and a mental break before you start the next rapid fire section. If you aspire to do something like composing film scores and you don't have any gear at all, You need to start working on getting some gear. You need to have a software, a digital audio workstation software program. You need to have the tools of the trade. You won't be a film score composer if you don't have the software and you don't know the gear. So you gotta start getting what you need to be able to do this for real, or else it's just going to be a dream and it will never be anything more than a dream. Can you name a song that you wish you had written, or that is like so amazing that you think, if I could just write like that, I would be so happy with my writing skills? If you don't have songs like that, maybe do some soul searching or active listening and try to come up with, make a playlist of songs you wish you had written, or that songs that embody what you aspire to do as a songwriter. Because what you can do is then you can look at those songs and ask yourself, what is it about this song that resonates so strongly with me, that feels like it's so amazing and so good? And then you have a starting point of what you can emulate. It can be a goal for you creatively. It can show you the areas that you want to work on, the growth areas that you have that you want to work on. If your verse rhythms of your lyric are not the same, if they don't match each other, verse 1 and verse 2 don't match each other, as long as they are a variation of the same rhythm, whereas like maybe it's 2/8 notes instead of a quarter note, not just like an entirely different rhythm, but maybe one is just a little bit busier than the other. I can't tell you why, but in my gut, I think verse 1 needs to be the one that's busier and verse 2 needs to be the one that is less busy. That's just my thought. If you're singing a song top to bottom and you don't have a double chorus at the end, but even despite the fact that you don't have a double chorus at the end, the song feels like it's going long, ask yourself, if you just had a bridge, like if you just did chorus, bridge, chorus at the end of your song, ask yourself, is the bridge contrasting the chorus enough? Because if the song feels like it's going long, unless it is actually legitimately a long song, that may be an indication that your bridge did not provide us with enough contrast and enough break from the chorus that when you went back into that chorus again, it didn't feel like, oh, are we still doing this? If you find yourself starting songs and never being able to finish a song, like if you've literally never been able to finish a song because you're afraid to write something that you don't like, that means that your inner critic has way too much control over you, and you got to be willing to write that crappy first draft. It's always just a draft. It's always just a draft. Drafts are meant to be edited. If you can't finish a song, your inner critic is keeping you from doing it. Learn to flow, learn to create without judgment, learn to think of it as a draft. It's only a draft. Drafts are meant to be edited. It's okay if the first draft is crappy. Not every word is a lyric-y type of word. So sometimes you can write a solid concept, but some of your word choices are a bit too textbooky. They're too literal. There might be a more poetic way to say it, but not every word comes off the lips easily. There might be a better word choice that sings better and is more accurate and more nuanced. And so that's when you get into your thesaurus and you start to look up options for words. If you've got a lyric that is a draft and you go through each line, check the last line of each stanza, see if it is appropriately either closing off the section or leading into the next section. If it is a refrain or a chorus, most of the time that very last line needs to close off the section that it is a part of rather than lead into the next section. If your chorus ends with the title, and if the title is the central concept of your song, look at the lines that are setting up that very last line, because the second to last line, and if you need 2 lines to set it up, the third and the second and third to last lines of your chorus really need to be on topic with that very last line of the chorus. You don't want some non sequitur thing and then suddenly you just jump to your title phrase main point. Set it up, really make it actually land with as much impact as possible. Okay, that's everything I can think of. I've gone nonstop today, but I'll try. If I think of something later, I'll make another video.